Hello everyone and happy Wednesday, July the 29th. I want to provide you with another economic stimulus update for today, July the 29th. And I'm going to be reading from my notes some of the differences between the CARES Act, which was passed earlier this year, the HEROES Act, which was passed by the Democrats in the House of Representatives, and the most recently presented bill, I should say, is the HEALS Act. So we have the CARES Act, the HEROES Act, and the HEALS Act.
The question is, how much?
This is not a bailout. This is about keeping people attached to their employment.
Senate Republicans unveiled a series of proposals on Monday.
I'm going to compare and contrast the three of those and kind of give you an insight as to what you can expect to receive now that negotiations are underway in Congress. Stay tuned. We're going to talk about all of that coming up next. Hello everyone, my name is Paul Zachary Shelton Jr. and I'm the Chief Investment Officer of Warwick Shore Advisors. We are a wealth and investment management firm located in Orlando, Florida, with clients all across the United States. If this is your first time coming to my channel or seeing one of my videos, I ask that you please hit the subscribe button. Please ring the bell so that you can get an update each time I upload a new video. And lastly, please like and share this video to help me increase the financial literacy of our globe. Before we jump into today's topic, and before I go ahead and dissect the differences between the CARES Act, which was signed into law, versus the HEROES Act and the HEALS Act, I want to play a video for you just to show you, kind of where we are and kind of why we are in a stalemate. There's a pretty large variance between the HEALS Act and the HEROES Act, pretty much a large variance between what the Republicans want and what the Democrats want. And hopefully it doesn't drag out too long because that only hurts you and I. But I'm gonna go ahead and play this video for you, and on the other side of this video, I'm gonna detail the differences between the CARES Act, HEROES Act, and the HEALS Act.
Lawmakers are hoping that a bipartisan deal can be reached quickly on another coronavirus relief bill.
I think this is a starting place.
With the pandemic showing no sign of ending, Republicans and Democrats agree that both businesses and workers will need more financial assistance. The question is, how much?
This is not a bailout. This is about keeping people attached to their employment.
Senate Republicans unveiled a series of proposals on Monday with a total cost of around $1 trillion. The HEALS Act would reduce emergency federal unemployment benefits from $600 a week to $200.
We want to continue to help the unemployed, but we want to encourage work. And we've learned a very tough lesson that when you pay people not to work, what do you expect?
Back in May, the Democrat-led House passed a $3 trillion relief bill.
We clearly do not have shared values. Having said that, we just want to see if we can find some common ground.
It's frustrating because they've dithered for 3 months and they're still trying to get their act together.
The GOP's proposal would also shield businesses from lawsuits stemming from the coronavirus. Both parties' bills call for sending another round of $1,200 checks to most taxpayers. Skyler Henry, CBS News, Washington.
Okay, so as you can see from that video, the HEALS Act is significantly lower or significantly smaller than the HEROES Act. The HEROES Act was $3 trillion. HEALS Act is about $1 trillion. Now, to give you some reference as to where they range in comparison to the CARES Act, the CARES Act was $2.2 trillion when it was passed. And that's how much of it was passed and signed into law. However, that is not how much that has been spent thus far. There's still a lot of available funds under the CARES Act that have not been claimed. So it's very possible that even though the HEROES Act is at $3 trillion and the HEALS Act is at $1 trillion, it's very possible if and when signed into law that they will not account for that total amount. Now, all three of these, I should say the CARES Act, HEROES Act, and the HEALS Act all call for $1,200 in economic stimulus payments for single filers that are making less than $75,000 per year. $24,000 for joint filers that are making less than $125,000 per year. And it's reduced by $5 per $100 of income above that statutory limit. So this is the same for the HEROES Act and the HEALS Act. So there's going to be no change in that amount. Where we do see a change come in is with the dependent pay. So under the CARES Act, there is $500 for all dependents 16 and under. And college students 24 and under were not eligible under the CARES Act. Now under the HEROES Act, the dependent pay would be the same as the adult pay. Everyone would receive $1,200 for dependents, but that maxes out the dependents at a total number of 3. Under the HEALS Act, it reverts back to what the CARES Act did and provides $500 for all dependents with no age limitations. And it doesn't speak to maxing out at 3 on this side. Now, the next thing on there is the enhanced unemployment benefits. So under the CARES Act, everyone was receiving $600 per week as in addition to the state unemployment bonus. This would be the same under the CARES Act, under the HEROES Act, I should say, as the CARES Act. Under the Senate Republican plan, the HEALS Act, it will be initially $200 per week, then up to $500 per week to match 70% of lost wages when added to state benefits. So it looks like for the first 2 months, it's going to be $200, and then it's going to be an escalator that's going to take place. And that kind of gives you insight to where the Senate and where Congress sees the economy going. We're starting to see more layoffs when it comes towards more of the white collar jobs, more of the office jobs, more of the higher wage, higher salary earning positions are starting to be eliminated now as a result of this economic recession that we are currently in. Under the CARES Act, we all know that the extra enhanced unemployment insurance lasted until July 31st, or at least the last payment went out July 31st. I believe the 25th was the actual expiration date with the carryover through the 31st. Under the HEROES Act, that would be extended through January 2021 for most workers and through March of 2021 for gig workers, independent contractors, part-time workers, and those that are self-employed. Now for the HEALS Act, that $200 per week bonus would go through September, and then that 70% matching of lost wages extends expiration of the federal benefits until December 31st of this year. So there's a slightly different nuance in there. Essentially, it will last a lot longer under the HEROES Act, and you'll get a lot more under the HEROES Act as compared to the HEALS Act. I'm not going to break down everything else for you, but there was one thing that was very, very important on here, and that had to do with the eviction protections and moratorium. So we know under the CARES Act there was a ban on all late fees until January 25th and evictions until August 24th on properties backed by federal mortgages. So that's the Fannie Mae, Ginnie Mae, all those. However, there is nothing in the HEALS Act to address any eviction moratoriums at all. So as of right now, we're planning to see a spike in foreclosures over the next couple weeks or so. Under the HEROES Act, however, there was an expansion to cover nearly all rental properties in the United States for eviction moratoriums for 12 months, and it allocated $200 billion for housing programs and another $100 billion for rental assistance. So that is something that was very, very important under the HEROES Act that did not even make it over to the Senate Republican plan under the HEALS Act. Regarding school reopenings, the HEROES Act allotted $100 billion, I should say, devoted to schools being reopened, being prepared with the proper PPE equipment so that they can have a safe reopening for face-to-face and going back to school, whether it's virtual or things of that nature. There was a little bit more money that was offered in the HEALS Act, but there has some more stipulations to how that money was used. It looks like it was going to be $70 billion that were going to go from grades K through 12 to open for in-person classes. Now, denoted that it had to be for in-person classes. It wasn't just money given to the schools so that they can go back to school or re-engage students in educational processes. You had to be in person for that. $29 billion was denoted for higher education, $1 billion to the Bureau of Indian Education, and also $5 billion would be divvied up for the states to use at their discretion. I talked about that previously, how in some instances, certain states, certain governors may try to lean heavily in one area of the state, or some certain areas of the state may receive more, I should say, attention or more financial assistance than other areas in different states all across the country. So that would be somewhat of a, not a red flag, but it would be kind of like a judgment call, just saying if the governors would be able to take care of certain areas, certain communities, and not leave out certain communities. And what I'm essentially trying to say is all those communities that are across the area that are already disadvantaged could be prone to a greater disadvantage right now if it's left up to the governors to make decisions on what schools will get additional financing and what school boards or districts will get additional financing. So this is pretty much just, a small version in extracting some of the differences between the CARES Act, which was passed and which we lived under and which was signed into law, versus the HEROES Act, which was passed by the Democrats in the House of Representatives now, versus the HEALS Act, which is a bill that is in the Senate as of right now. If you have any questions about anything that I mentioned in this video, please leave a comment below. Please let me know what your thoughts are about all the items that are in there so far, and really what should we be focusing on. And also give me your thoughts on if we really should be trying to just put together a package that's all encompassing right now, or would it be feasible or more fiscally prudent to actually handle this in phases, such as we know that the unemployment scenario is going to end very soon. Let's take care of that now and then start working to backfill on everything else. Unfortunately, we're at the ninth hour again, at the very last minute. I do tip my hat off to the Democrats that were able to go ahead and look down the road and say, hey, let's get something in place now, months in advance. Now the Senate, the Republicans are behind the 8 ball, and that's only hurting the people that need the money. So stay tuned. If you have any questions, comments, leave them below. Please subscribe to this channel. Please ring the bell so that you can get an update each time I post a new video. And lastly, please like and share this video to help me increase the financial literacy of our globe. Thank you so much and have a great day.